Well, thank you again for taking the time out to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about the development of the script for the film and maybe what the inspiration was for the story and just that process of getting the script together.
Yeah, sure. I actually had another movie I was trying to get off the ground, and um, we had a couple false starts, and so kind of with the difficulties of that, I kind of just took a hike down Mulholland Drive. And on that hike, I kind of had a vision of myself on on either side, Studio City and like West Hollywood area. I just thought it would be interesting about a story of if I existed on two different sides with the same person. So I kind of like took that as inspiration, and I don't know. I just kind of like really ran with that. A lot of the themes from the first script came over, but I kind of wrote this script in 2 weeks. It was like kind of a fever dream type of thing. I edited it for 2 years while we tried to get the movie made, but the first draft was done pretty quickly. And yeah, it was just kind of a thought I had while hiking.
And then also, I wanted to ask about then going into directing the film and what that experience was like once you began shooting to be on set and directing the film as well, and going from writing the script into directing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's always what you get when you're there and what you dream of is always two different things. Um, we had a really cool crew and cast, and we would come to set every day. We kind of workshop the dialogue for the scenes beforehand, and so the actors would come. We kind of workshop the scene. I always have my editor on set with me, kind of as not as a safety net, but just I always like to have as many of the creatives that are involved to be there as well. So while I would be working on other things and kind of checking in, the actors would work with our editor, Matt Johnson. And then we get some new pages typed out, still similar to what the scene was originally, but kind of a little bit more improv. And then I'd get the scenes and I'd be kind of learning the scene as we were shooting it. So it was a kind of interesting way to do it, but it kind of allows for some of that naturalistic dialogue and some of the scenes to really connect and vibe with the actors because we did it that way. And I also shot two cameras. So that was really good for the actors because we didn't have to match things. So because we could just let them kind of dialogue because both cameras were rolling at the same time. So that worked out really well for us. So this kind of improv two camera style was not something I planned, but ended up really giving us the feel of the film.
And speaking also about working with the actors on set and having them join the film, I also wanted to ask about just the casting in general and figuring out which actors you wanted to work with and then going into really collaborating with them over.
Yeah, the casting process was great. Tanya was was on my list, and interestingly enough, she actually came in for an actual in-person reading. So that was cool because usually someone of her caliber, it's a kind of offer only, but she came in and auditioned, which was really cool. And then we actually had someone else cast in the role of Sean, and they dropped out like 2 weeks before filming. So like during pre-production, we were doing all that, and it was kind of crazy to have to like recast that person, but that happens a lot. And so I met Brandon like one day I was eating sushi. I was just like, send the actor to me. I couldn't even audition him. Just like I'm just gonna meet people in person. And he came to sushi and we just hit it off immediately. And I just was like, I right there told him he had the job. And it's just kind of like a Hail Mary pass. But I liked his look, and his look is kind of opposite Tanya's. And so ended up being one of the best decisions of my life because he's the lead and he really, the movie lives and dies by his performance. And I think he did a pretty good job. So kind of got lucky.
And also, I wanted to ask about producing the film as well and what that experience was like of balancing the directing and producing aspects of it.
Yeah, that I don't know if I'd ever want to do again. Producing, directing, writing, it's so many hats on the thing. It wasn't that I did it because I wanted all the credits. It was more or less, I kind of know, as a filmmaker, it's hard to raise money, and especially in the new world. So I kind of was really the one to kind of go and kind of try to raise money and put the film together myself. And it's a good experience because now it's kind of my responsibility to get it out there. And while writing and directing, it's hard to balance the three of those things. So luckily for me, I had really good producers around me, David Zonshine and Orion Williams, to kind of take that load off while I was directing. But yeah, it's tough to do all three. I'd love for the next film to maybe not be one of the main producers on the film, but it was good to learn and go through that experience so that now when I move forward in my career, I know what that experience is like, and I can work with producers and know what they go through.
Also, I wanted to ask about like the more sci-fi elements in the film and what that experience was like as well, and really creating those elements for the story as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I had a lot of ideas, and obviously with a smaller budget, some of them couldn't be as executed, and I just kind of had to trust that I'd figure it out in post. But we had a really great title designer, and so I knew that was kind of coming up after the shoot. So we had his name is Liam Lynch. He directed Tenacious D, works with a lot of musicians. He's a really quirky, cool, underground, avant-garde kind of filmmaker. So we were lucky to be able to go to his studio, and we shot some of the time travel sequence there, where Brandon would sit, our lead actor Brandon would sit in front of the screen, and he would project all those kind of crazy visuals onto him, and then we would record that. So like it was a learning experience, and so it was really cool to like kind of go through that and work with other artists who knew a little bit more about that stuff than I did. But I think it ended up coming out really well, and I'm really proud of that stuff. So it was cool.
And also speaking about like the musicians and the musical aspect of the film, and what was the experience like also creating the score and the soundtrack for the film as
Yeah, Danny Harrison and I worked together on my last film, and his partner Paul Hicks. They have been scoring films for quite a while now, and Danny's the son of George Harrison of the Beatles, so it's kind of psychedelic vibes, and so he's always kind of gravitated to my work. And yeah, he I don't know, he always just kind of comes up with really great ideas. And so before we even start the filming, he'll give me a lot of different soundscapes and tones and kind of like swatches. It's almost like working with a pattern maker or like wallpaper. And we kind of look and kind of feel and see and place things and get a good idea of how we like to do that. And then from there, once I deliver the movie to him, we kind of pick the kind of tones and colors he likes, and he kind of goes to work from there. On the first film, he actually took so much of the inspiration from our stuff that he based his whole first album around kind of the soundtrack from our film. And from this film, he's doing the same. A lot of the kind of soundscapes he came up with, he's now utilizing to make his second album. So it's pretty cool that I influence him with his music and his artwork by working on my films. So it's kind of cool collaboration between the two of us.
well. And also, like you mentioned earlier about working with your editor on set, and I also wanted to ask a little bit more about the editing process once the shoot was finished and really putting the final version of the
Editing to me is kind of the second director. So Matt and I have worked together for almost like 10 years now. So he's kind of my work wife. And we really, the great part is we worked together so long that I trust him. And so I kind of give him final cut in a way. It's if I have an idea, and it's like most of my ideas can be pretty esoteric. So he likes to bring me down to make it a little bit more palatable for everybody. But when we first started working together, I'd always kind of, it's like he's trying to like second guess me or whatever. But now I give full control to him. So, but we go back and forth. It's like I might throw a similar idea back out to him, and he might be like, "I know what you're trying to do," and he's like, "Absolutely not." And I'm like, "Okay, I know that this is not going to go." So it's great because I think at the end of the day, especially in filmmaking, the more you work with someone, the more you trust that they understand your artistic ambitions and that they're helping you translate that. And so I think in a weird way, my relationship with him is maybe one of the most important on the film because he really is essentially the second director. And so, we really need to see eye to eye. And luckily we do.
And I also wanted to ask about the locations for the film and what that process was like of really deciding where you wanted to shoot the film overall as well, and really create the look for each location.
We shot in LA, but I didn't want the film to feel like it was in LA. So I think I did a pretty reasonable job of picking locations and situations to kind of make it feel like in any city anywhere in the world. And I shoot a lot of close-ups and a lot of faces. So it was easy to kind of block out a lot of the stuff that might remind you of LA. And we got a couple of drone shots that were cool. And yeah, so it's like I wanted it to feel like it could be anywhere. So it's funny though, because there's some of it's like futuristic, some of it's kind of suburban, and we kind of mix and match the looks to kind of really make it feel like it's its own unique universe. And so we made those choices to kind of throw people off the scent, if you will.
So now with the movie premiering at Cinequest, what's that experience been like of being able to bring the film to the festival and really premiere there as well?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, today's the launch of the festival, so I'm excited to kind of this next 2 weeks to kick this off. It's been great designing the poster and the trailer and all of those things. The past 2 months has been really fun and exciting, and so now I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my labor, and I'm excited to get people seeing it and talking about it. And I hope this is the first of many festivals during this festival run. So, but I just think it's a great place for me to start, as so much of the movie is technologically based, and because I really do love the Silicon Valley atmosphere and the tech world, to be able to premiere in a festival that fits the movie so well is exciting. So I think it's a perfect landing festival for me, for especially for the kickoff of this. And we're excited. I mean, the entire cast is really excited, and they'll have an in person in August. And so, I'll bring the producers, I'll bring the actors. Potentially, we can maybe get Danny Harrison there, and so we'll be excited to kind of do the same festival twice, which is kind of strange this year, but you really get your bang for your buck. So we're excited to really be a part of the Cinequest family. So we're excited.
And also, like mentioning like going to other festivals. Do you have a plan and how else you wanted to release or show the movie, or anything that you can
Well,
discuss?
yeah, I mean, we're in 2 festivals in Europe this summer, and we're waiting to hear back for a lot of festivals in America and in Europe. We've applied to quite a bit, but because we've now gotten into 3, I feel like we'll be able to get a couple more in both in America and in Europe. And so, yeah, I mean, the plan is just to kind of go to each one and take advantage of each place, and kind of, yeah, just kind of use the festivals as an opportunity to tour the movie around and to build hype around it over the course of like a year, because then when the movie's released, there's an audience for it. I mean, that's my main goal, is to, so many times now, if you get into Sundance or a festival and they buy you, they might release you within a month. And so you don't have the ability to kind of slow build a campaign around yourself. So this way of doing it is good for us to kind of really make sure people know about the movie before it comes out.
Okay, I think that was mainly it. But thank you again for taking the time today to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Great meeting you.
You too. Thanks again.
Yes, bye.
Mhm.